Alright, bookworms and constant readers, welcome back to Final Girl Horror. I'm Chelsea, and today I'm coming at you with another book review. Now, I have tried to record this video 3 times, 4 times, and it is entirely too long, so this is going to be a 2-part video. The first part is going to deal with the book, and the second part is going to deal with the list. And the book we are talking about is 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. This is a monster of a book. It's like 1,300 pages or something. And it took me quite a while to get through this, because I read the book and I listened to the albums. Now, if you're interested in listening to the albums, I recommend that you are really into music and that you're willing to sit through bad music. I have said I would never do a negative review on this channel, but I'm so passionate about music, I have to do this review. So I hope it's fun, I hope it's entertaining, I hope you watch both parts. So let's get started. Now, I want to start out by saying that music is very subjective. What I like, you may not like. You know, I like rock and roll, you may like country. You may like gospel, and I don't. So I get that. But I just want to explain where I am coming from as a reviewer when I talk about this book and I talk about this list. I listen to enough music and enough genres that I think, I can give an honest review for, like, everybody, what is good music and what is bad music. I listen to roughly, I would say, 4 to 6 hours a day of music. The only thing I love more than books and reading is music. If you look at my music collection, I have close to 3,000 CDs, and I think I have every genre imaginable except maybe, and I would have to check, opera. I don't think I have any opera, but I've got classical, I've got country, I've got rock and roll, I've got rap, rhythm and blues, jazz, punk rock, rockabilly, you name it, I probably have it. So that's where I'm coming from. So let's get into the book. And with all book reviews, we start out with the cover, because I've said many times, you can totally judge a book by its cover. If a book has a catchy cover or a catchy title, I will pick it up, I will read the synopsis, and if I find that I may like this book, I buy it. I have found numerous books of authors I never heard of just because the book had a catchy title or a catchy cover. This cover, I absolutely hate this cover. I don't know what it is with this kid and the headphones and all this open sky. I don't get it. It's got this wraparound cover. I think, like, why didn't they use the 1001 albums and do like a collage of all of the album covers and wrap it all the way around the book and then, put the title over it? I don't know. I absolutely hate this cover. I give this cover a 1 out of 5. It's one of the worst covers that I've ever seen. Alright, so I'll read you the synopsis. I think it's kind of funny. It says, "You now hold in your hands the ultimate critical collection of the best ever albums, spanning 50 years of outstanding music, from the genesis of 50s rock and roll to the technological innovation of today, featuring inside knowledge and incisive criticism from 90 internationally acclaimed music journalists. This is an indispensable companion, illustrated with over 900 iconic images of album covers, bands, and artists. 1001 albums you must hear before you die is a must-have for the musically inspired." Okay, so right there is my first complaint. This album has, or this book, this list has a lot of crap in it. It has stuff in it that is so bad that I wouldn't have my worst enemy listen to, let alone rate it as one of the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. And keep that in mind. This is the title of the book. So when I heard about this book and it was recommended to me by someone who knows how much I love music, I was under the impression that I was going to go on this amazing musical journey through time from the 1950s to 2005 and just be wowed by all of this great music I was going to hear. And the 1950s, it started out like that. And then it quickly fell apart from there. And I'll get into that more in part 2 of this video when I talk about the list. So please watch this and watch part 2 when it comes out. So, this book, it takes you decade by decade. It's split up into decades. And it goes year by year. So it starts out in 1955 and it goes to 59. Then you get to the 1960s and it goes from 1960 to 1969 and so on. And the introduction explains why they started in 1955. It has to do with the rising popularity of the LP, the long play album. And then it tells you other things about what they did and didn't do for this list. Like, for instance, there's not a lot of soundtracks on this list. And that's one thing that I think they kind of missed the mark on, because there are some iconic soundtracks out there that deserve to be on this list, but they're not. The only soundtracks that are on this list are soundtracks that a single artist did the music for. So example, Purple Rain is on this list. One of those iconic soundtracks. And the reason it made the list is because Prince does every song on the soundtrack. But they missed the mark on, like, the 1960s. The Woodstock soundtrack is not on the list. And that is like an iconic soundtrack that represents the 1960s and what happened at Woodstock, who performed. It's got some amazing performances on that soundtrack, but it's not on the list because it's not done by a single artist. Also, keep in mind that none of these albums are ranked like best to worst. It just goes year by year, and it's these musical journalist thoughts on this is what the best albums of each year were. Some other things about this book is there are a lot of genres that are like way overrepresented. You see this in like the 80s. There was more to the 80s than synth pop. But listening to this, you would think that's all the 80s was. Also, one of the good things about this book is the photos. The photos of the albums and the artists, they have some very interesting, very cool photos. One thing I don't like about this book, though, is it's very biased towards British musicians. And that wouldn't be such a bad thing if you didn't have to endure so many like unheard of British bands that they may have been big in the UK or an area of the UK and you never heard of them if they were good. And the thing with this book is when you listen to the album, it's terrible or it's okay. You know, it's forgettable. It's not anything that wows you. And this book has a tendency to, if you know such and such band, you know, had like a top 20 hit on, you know, Radio 1 in Liverpool in 1973, you know, they're on this list. But they never got out of Liverpool. They were never heard, you know, on any other airways, but they're on this list. And it's like, why? They're not that great. You know, these are supposed to be albums that I really need to hear before I die. And I take that as like, they should have some kind of musical significance to them. Like, why do I need to hear them? The other thing is the information in this book is not all factual information. These are music journalists who are writing these little kind of like opinion pieces about these albums, and the way I understand it is they are the ones who put it on the list. And so they're writing about the album they chose. And you get a lot of stupid like statements in this book. And you know, there's one instance I'm going to get to here in a minute where the same writer contradicts herself within just a few pages, and that one's kind of funny. There's also way too many repeat artists. This book leaves a lot of people, a lot of genres, a lot of artists out that I think deserve to be on this list. And every time I hear, you know, like another Talking Heads album or another Elvis Costello album, I'm just like, wow, you could have chose one of their albums or maybe two of their albums and put these artists on. There's also way too many unknown artists. And I don't mind unknown artists. I will tell anybody every single favorite song of yours at one time, that was an unknown artist. You never heard them before. And I enjoy unknown artists and discovering new music as long as it's good. The problem with this book is 95% of the stuff that I've never heard of is terrible or forgettable, or you know, it's just not that great. And I think if you're going to have a book that is 1,001 albums that you must hear before you die, then they should be great. They should all be just wow factors, kind of like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. That album is amazing. Like, I'm wowed every time I hear it, and I've listened to that album hundreds of times. Um, Now, some of the information in this book is correct. When they talk about where an album charted or something, they have to be factual with that. But here's some of the statements that you get in this book that are more opinion than they are fact. Like, you hear grunge died with Cobain. If you don't know who Cobain is, it's Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of Nirvana. He is credited with, grunge music, that Seattle sound. Nirvana is like the king of grunge. He's also referred to as the voice of a generation. He killed himself in 1994. And grunge didn't die in 1994. It went on well into the 2000s. But they make this idiotic comment that grunge died with Kurt Cobain. Well, did anybody tell Alice in Chains? Did anybody tell Pearl Jam? Because they're still performing today. Somebody should let them know their careers, they ended in 94. I mean, it's just an idiotic statement. Another one, this is one of my favorites because they just got back together and everybody's like losing their shit over it. I don't understand why people worship this band so much. One of the members is just a horrible human being. And that's Oasis. It says, Oasis came along and redefined rock and roll. Really? I mean, Oasis is good. They have a bunch of songs that I like, but they redefined the genre? No, not quite. Sorry, but you missed the mark on that statement. And so then this brings me to and I didn't write her name down, but she's talking about a Limp Bizkit album. And she refers to this kind of music as nu metal. And I think she's talking about Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water album. And she says that nu metal hit its peak in early 2000. And then just a few pages later, she's talking about a Linkin Park album. And she says that nu metal gained serious momentum in early 2000. So which is it? Did it reach its peak or did it gain momentum and keep going? You can't have both. And idiotic statements like this are found throughout the book. That's my main problem with this book is the opinions. They're not factual. They're opinions. And the British bias, the repeat artist, it was funny reading, like when you listen to these albums and then you go and read it and you're like, God, that album was terrible. And then you read about the album and they're making it out to be like it was this musical masterpiece that, what the hell is wrong with you that you've never heard this before, you haven't listened to it. And you see this over and over throughout the book. You have a lot of hype for mediocre music. And mediocre music on a list that says you must hear this before you die. So the book is kind of laughable. The list is even worse. I will get into that in the next video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell so you know when new videos come out. I am now doing book reviews and movie reviews because I'm reading another book that so far is much better than this book, and it's the 1001 Movies You Need to Watch Before You Die. So far, very cool book, very cool movies. I hope you watch those videos. That's all I got for you. Until next time, read more books.